All right, we're going to go ahead and get started now. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for your time today attending our webinar on BusinessObjects BI and Crystal Reports for JD Edwards, as well as our BI Quick Launch for JD Edwards related to BusinessObjects offerings. My name is Adam Krieger. I'm the founder of the company. I'll be walking through today's session. A few things to note. If the GoToMeeting panel is taking up part of your screen, please, you can kind of minimize that to the side of the screen with, I think there'd be a little white arrow and a red box. Also inside that panel, if you have any questions, go ahead and post those along the way. We'll kind of at the end recap and go through questions at that time, but that'll be where we'll go to grab those. So feel free to post those questions in the Q&A panel. And like I said, we've got a lot to cover today, so hopefully we'll see how much we can squeeze into the hour. So let's go ahead and get started. Got a few PowerPoint slides just to kind of cover up front, and then we'll dive into the live demo, and then come back to some slides as well. First off, we'll start with a little overview of preferred strategies, the JD Edwards data model complexities, why business objects, our Jumpstart package for business objects, live demonstration, and then come back to implementation timeline and questions. So preferred strategies, we've been a partner of Business Objects since 2002. Excuse me. So we started out as a company helping JD Edwards customers learn how to write Crystal reports specifically against JD Edwards. And then as Business Objects had acquired Crystal, we branched into the full suite of Business Objects offerings. So that's kind of really where we started as a business. Over the years, we've also then added on to taking our domain knowledge of JDE, but then applying it to other packages as well, Oracle, Microsoft related content as well. Our strength really has been around being able to deliver real-time direct connect functionality to JD Edwards customers that perform really well. However, we also can provide data warehouse type solutions, and we have an upcoming webinar on Thursday to talk about data warehousing for JD Edwards. Outside of our prepackaged content, and I'll kind of cover that in a minute, we also do implementation services, training, and consulting. Our training is all done using our Jumpstart packages for JD Edwards on your site using your JD Edwards financial data. So that's kind of in a nutshell preferred strategies. Why are you on the phone, or why are you looking, or just what's the challenge in general with getting information out of JDE? For many, especially outside of IT, it's really hard to navigate the JD Edwards data model. There's thousands of tables, cryptic table names, F0006 for the business unit master, GBOBJ for the an object account field. The dates are stored in a Julian format. The amounts and units are stored without decimals. Then for reporting, you always want to kind of get a breakdown of year-over-year activity, or year-to-date, quarter-to-date, month-to-date, inception-to-date. These time-based calculations all need to be created, and you want them to be dynamic based on a user prompt. And these are all just things that don't make it easy coming out of JDE. That has to kind of be built into the reporting layer, which is kind of what leads many companies to going down the route of a reporting and BI platform that allows you to kind of manage this type of functionality. And then the other things like user-defined codes, and some fields aren't the same in all the different tables, and some fields have leading spaces and some cleanup and stuff. So this is just some of them. There's obviously more specific ones across different JDE modules as well. So why business objects? One of the reasons why we're still a big fan of business objects is that they are the market leader in BI from a market share perspective, and they've been that for quite some time. They patented the idea, kind of this concept of a semantic layer, and we'll show you that, or at least we'll kind of be utilizing that in the demo today. But a semantic layer is kind of where we're identifying based on the different functional areas, there'll be these kind of metadata or semantic models that kind of translate the cryptic JDE into a usable format, and that's kind of what's referred to in Business Objects as a universe. So a lot of the content we demonstrate today is going to be based off of a universe. From the reporting side, the Business Objects reporting element of their suite is Crystal Reports, which is really, of all the different reporting tools we've used, seems to be the one tool that you can always go to not only just get pixel perfect reports, but pretty much get anything done with the tool if you know how to do it properly. And then from an ad hoc perspective, the web intelligence, there's also some specific, so web intelligence is the ad hoc query tool. We'll actually show you that in the demo. They've also kind of licensed the software for kind of the mid-market. So initially, years back, BusinessObjects just had one line of their product, which was all really enterprise-based for extremely large organizations. And they've actually kind of bundled the software and provided these bundles so mid-market companies can take advantage of this at a very extremely reasonable price. It supports both the Direct Connect and Data Warehouse. We'll kind of show you flavors of that. And really our Jumpstart. So, it's if you want to take advantage of the best functionality that BusinessObjects has to offer and already have it done for J.D. Edwards, that's where Preferred Strategies comes in with our BI Quick Launch. So we're going to kind of cover that in a minute. There's really kind of three different approaches here to implement BI: Direct Connect, Operational Data Store, or like a Data Warehouse. So Direct Connect is, in essence, we're taking and modeling the data right there within, let's say, a universe or a report back to the natural structure of JDE. And so in essence, everything is real time. You post a journal entry, you want to run a trial balance, whatever's in JDE, when you hit refresh, is going to be what's returned in the report. There is no extra layer of data moving from one point to another. Obviously, the benefits real time. It's the least reliant on IT, lowest total cost of ownership, and you never have to worry about, is my data updated or anything like that. Why not do a Direct Connect? And we're going to be speaking more to this in greater detail on Thursday when we have our other data warehousing webinar. Sometimes companies have policies against going directly at the data. Maybe you have multiple ERPs, J.D. Edwards and SAP and Great Plains, and you need to kind of bring all the data together into one source. And that's where that makes it a little more difficult in a direct connect type scenario. Operational Data Store, again, it's it can offload reporting. So if you didn't want to go against the transactional JD data, you could actually just mirror the data or feed it off kind of more in a replicated format and then map everything to that. So that's kind of more of a staging area. In some cases of a data warehouse may also look like that. And then a data warehouse where you're going to remodel the data in the transforms of the feed from your source to your target fact and dimension tables of your data warehouse. So again, each of these is not something we're going to be able to address on this webinar, but we'd be happy to dive into this discussion in greater detail with any one of you. So what are the capabilities? There's actually more than what these 6 kind of pieces on this slide. However, this kind of covers a high level. BusinessObjects has dashboarding components where it's that high level summary view of the data, your key metrics, trends, red, yellow, or green. So you're going to kind of get that graphical view, but could be mixed in with some tables and dashboards. There's also other tools to be able to slice and dice the data. Sales explorations. There's a product called Explore. We'll show you some of that today. The BI Mobile will actually show you some of the functionality available on a mobile device, like an iPad. Crystal Reports for the reports. The ad hoc web intelligence, so users can just say, I want to build a finance report. They grab a finance model, drag and drop into the canvas, and they can aggregate and slice and dice the data all different ways. And then all these things can be saved back and refreshed, so you're not having to manually go through these steps every time you build it. You save it, and then users can refresh it on their own, schedule it, have it run on the fly, on demand, or schedule it to run after certain processes have been run in J.D. Edwards, let's say at midnight or something as well. And then also some Microsoft Office integration. So some people want to do everything from Excel, and we'll show you kind of how to leverage that as well. So our BI Quick Launch for BusinessObjects contains a few different elements. We do have 100+ templates and samples for Crystal across 14 JDE modules. So we have a catalog. We'd be happy to send that to you if you're interested. Just specify that in the survey at the end, and we'll kind of point you to that. But in essence, we've kind of created templates and samples across these modules, so we've already got predefined income statements and balance sheets and as of aging AR aging reports and labor reports. So we've kind of already spent the thousands of hours building out content that we basically take and map directly to your environment. Then the concept of a universe for a lot of the ad hoc and the dashboards and those other analytic capabilities, it kind of runs on the semantic layer where you're translating the data, and that's kind of what's a universe. We provide, I think, 30 some odd universes across the same modules as well, and those can all be connected to your data. So here's the breakdown of the type of content across the different JD modules. Like I said, we'd be happy to send you a catalog if you're interested as well. And we also, for our maintenance paying customers, we've kind of created some utilities to help mine the JD Edwards data model. So for those developers that are, not sure where some of the data may reside, if you know, let's say, a table but not sure the fields, or what are the index fields, or you're aware of a field but not sure what table it's in, this utility can help you identify where that data may exist in JDE. All right, so now we're going to kind of flip over and kind of get into some more of the live demo. Like I said, I've got probably too much to try and cover here, so we'll see where we get. First off, we're going to log into the platform, the web platform, as, let's say, the CFO, and we'll log in and start by looking at a financial management dashboard. We'll look at some of the different functionality of that, and then drill down from the dashboard to, let's say, an underlying P&L. And we'll drill through that P&L from the highest summary level in the business all the way down to the general ledger transactions and beyond. Then we'll kind of show how to do some of that right there from a mobile device as well, like an iPad. And then we'll come back and build kind of a sales ad hoc report. Before we do that, we'll actually look at how to slice and dice just some sales data as well with the Explorer. And then when we do some sales ad hoc, we'll actually go ahead and do that against HANA. If you're not aware of HANA, that's the in-memory computing platform for SAP to really accelerate your analytics. So we kind of just show you a flavor of that. It's very similar. We actually, same universe that we built for our direct, we just kind of repointed to a model that's been prepared in HANA for JDE that we've done, and then we'll show you some of the live Office stuff, which is the Microsoft Office integration at the end. Okay, so I'm going to flip over to another screen here. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the platform as a CFO, as an example. And when I log in, again, each user will be able to set up what their default, different either dashboards, or there'll be different folders that they have access to. So all of that's controlled. If I'm an HR user, I might just see an HR folder. If I'm an accounts payable clerk, I may only just see accounts payable. If I'm the CFO, I might see everything. So that's all controlled. If I go ahead and I want to increase this to full screen here, go ahead and expand that. This is an example of a financial management dashboard. So here we've got a few different tabs here. Here's an income statement tab. If I look here at the different rows, I can click on those. You'll see the data update on the right based on that. If I go and look at, let's say, the balance sheet, and we want to look at, we can kind of see some trends, regular green, based on certain thresholds, obviously, that are defined at your management level of what triggers that. So again, this is kind of a mix, you'll see, of some charts with some tables, but it's just kind of taking a lot of highly summarized information and putting it in a format that a CFO might be able to analyze in 5 minutes rather than looking at 8 different reports behind the scenes. Looking at cash flow, here's kind of our cash flow example. Here's maybe the current cash thermometer, open AR, open AP is some pie charts. And for a public company, we've got certain monthly ratios, quarterly ratios that need to be monitored, quarterly profit trend, something like that. So this kind of gives you a high-level view of different financial-related metrics. You'll see here there's a report list. We can go ahead and drop down and select specific reports. So let's say a CFO wants to take a look at the consolidated P&L. Again, they're maybe just getting one summary view within the dashboard, but that might drill into at the underlying detail. So when we open this up, now we're getting, in essence, a consolidated P&L. And if we want to go ahead and look at the breakdown, we can see this is at the summary of everything consolidated. If we go down, let's say that breaks down by these divisions or business segments. We can click on one of those. It gives us a summary level there. Within that, at each of these, there's different summary levels that may be there. This is one of our sample quick launch reports for the income statement. And part of our process is we actually map this report to your specific criteria for your hierarchy for drill purposes and the summary levels, as well as they're drilling through the report, what makes up the revenue and cost, gross profit, and all those different summary levels of a standard P&L and balance sheet. So I'm looking at this. Let's go back to the top level here. I notice I'm on straight time labor. I'm over budget for the quarter by $2 million. And I want to find out what makes up that $2 million. If I go ahead and drill into that line item, it'll actually break it down by the different markets, let's say, that make up that piece of the P&L. Looks like I'm better than planned everywhere with the exception of medical electronics. So if we drill into medical electronics, again, it breaks it down. Maybe there's a different product lines that looks like I'm worse off everywhere here. So, I could pick up the phone, contact the manager responsible for this, or just start drilling even deeper into the report. So if we go down and look at an example, we've got some good sample data to drill into. And corporate admin, so I'm looking here, I've got $1,394 for the quarter in rent expense, $8,000 for the year. I want to find out what makes up that rent expense line, right? So we can drill through, in this case, we can go and drill from the summary P&L or balance sheet, and if I click on this, it's going to actually drill down to the general ledger transaction. So that was actually a real live drill. It would have passed over at that moment I clicked to the general ledger, brought back the data that made sense based on that specific, line item, which would have been, for rent expense for this business unit, and it would have been that fast. So if you have 100 million rows on your GL, we're still seeing response times like that to run these type of queries. In this case, I'm looking at the general ledger transactions now. I've got $800 to Allen Supplies for storage unit rental. If I want to find out the details of this invoice, I can go ahead and click on the invoice number. And actually, it's going to take us and run another query against accounts payable. You can see here's the check number. Was a discount available? What's still open on the purchase order? A lot of customers as well, if they actually are using some type of document imaging, may actually have this call the image, and you can pull that up as well. If I want to see what's still open on the purchase order, I could drill into that. So again, this is just a hyperlinking functionality, and we've these are all drill paths and reports that are mapped and defined. So your financial reports with our installation will have all this functionality within it. Let's go ahead and go back. So that was kind of a quick flavor of P&L. If we go back to click on Documents here, so I wanted to go back and look at another example, maybe like a balance sheet. So if I wanted to look at, I can right-click on Balance Sheet and View Latest Instance. This one, let's say, had already been run by Finance. So in this case, here's one of our sample balance sheets that's also mapped to your data, and you define again what the different criteria is for your rows and roll-ups and everything else. If I wanted to look at what makes up this cash line item, I can drill into cash, drill down to the business units, and then down to a specific account, see what makes up this account. Just like we saw on the P&L, same thing from the balance sheet. Okay. So this is an example, showed you a high-level P&L and a balance sheet. If we go back, you also notice you can also do things like creating a financial reporting package. So in this case, there's a publication and bursting functionality. If we go ahead and open this up, this allows you to blend reports together, in essence, create one PDF document. Let's say you can even have this where it'll burst out by the different managers, and so each manager is going to get to just their piece of the of analysis based on their business units or regions or divisions or however you define their security for reporting purposes. And if I can go and open up each of these PDFs individually, the balance sheet, income statement, summary, we've got Open AP, Open AR, and here's a financial reporting package PDF. So if I open that up, you can also have these, and these are some options when you create these and run them. We've actually had this consolidate all these reports together into one package, and then give me a table of contents. So if I want to look at the consolidated income statement, I can click on that. It'll take me right to that page. Right. So if I wanted to go back and go right to the balance sheet, I could do that. And you'll notice you can have different formats. So what should be, portrait and landscape and mix and everything else. So this is also another nice feature about being able to create these package of month-end reports. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to flip over here for a second. And I'm going to open up how will these reports, something like this, look if you were managing reports, via an iPad or something like that. So give me a second here. Okay. So within BusinessObjects, there's actually an app that they've created, and in this case, it's a BI app, and it's free as long as it's basically you have to be licensed within the platform to support it. But it's just a free download out there. In this case, I'm going to go ahead, if I want to look at, let's say, the consolidated P&L, you'll see it's very similar to the one we were just on. And just like we had, if we wanted to drill into this, we can go ahead and drill right into the report here, and just like we drilled in over the web, we can do that right here from an iPad. I'm just kind of clicking through this, and you kind of see the breakdowns. If we go back to the top level, we're going to look down again at the, oops, let me go back in there. And we want to look at that tree structure. Here we can go in right to the different levels as well, go right to those specific levels in the report. You navigate page by page or go. So this is kind of just a nice way for some managers who might want to, if they have access to, let's say, VPN or something like that, they might be at the airport and be able to kind of get this information from the iPad as they're waiting for their flight. Same thing, like you hit the balance sheet. You can go ahead and just turn this, portrait. And then we're going to actually show you, we'll build an ad hoc report on the sales side here in a little bit, but if we just show you some of the other functionality. So those were actually happen to be the balance sheet and income statement were crystal reports, were the format of those. And that's still what we use for the nicely formatted and management reports, and like I said, we have a full suite of those. For some ad hoc reports that are built from a universe, this report here I'm showing you on the screen, we could build in 5 minutes together, and we'll actually do that once we get to that point in the demo. But just to kind of show you how something like this might render on the iPad, if I go ahead and just click on the left here, there's a little sections. So if I want to look at, let's say, Dallas, and if I go ahead and mouse on top of the value, the bars here, we've got look at this is sales, so extended amount and gross profit. In this case, we're looking at our products by region. So you can see here it's going to be the table at the bottom, which we define in the report with extended amount, gross profit, and percent. And we can choose a different region. If we also, let's say this, and when we build the ad hoc report, you'll see we'll create different tabs. So here, if I want to go look at customers by region, which is another tab in the ad hoc report, let's go look at Dallas there as well. All right, so here, kind of very similar. We just actually copy the tab, but now this, if I mouse and just grab this little dot in the pie chart and move that around, you'll see it kind of update. So this is, again, some of the things, and there's also the dashboard. So all the different content, you build it, and then you can kind of analyze it over a web, the web platform from your desktop, or, if you like or a mobile device, and again, that's where the mobile comes into play. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of that. So we can go ahead and go back here. All right. So again, we just covered logging into the CFO, looking at a financial management dashboard, drilling down to underlying P&Ls, balance sheet, financial reporting package, all of these as well. If you want to schedule these, if you right-click on this and choose Schedule, you can go in, and in this case, you can define if you want something to run right now, hourly, daily, weekly. What are the prompts? You kind of just key in. What are the specific period, year, company, whatever prompts are built into the report, formats, so you can have something run directly to a report format, like they'll be web-based with drill functionality, or you can go right down to, you can see here on the screen, PDF, Excel, Word, any of the different formats you might want to deliver the report in as well. And then destinations here, you can go in and choose. Enterprise location would be, it's going to be, in essence, saved into the platform itself as a historical instance of the report. So you can come back at a later date and open up prior runnings of those reports. You can go to send it to an individual's inbox or email. And when you send out email, you can actually send something out as a viewer hyperlink, right? And that'll actually send out a URL. So in essence, that's a way to kind of protect. If I'm a user and I get this URL and I click on it, I have to authenticate. So if I don't have rights to this report in the system, it won't let me view it. So when we hit schedule, it'll actually run and process and return the report. Give the sake of time, I'm going to hit cancel here. So there's a scheduling functionality for different reports and ad hoc queries. If I go in here to distribution here, and we're going to look at, just take a look at like sales analysis. Okay, so in this case, we're actually, let's say, analyzing sales data. And with the beauty of this tool, it's kind of looks like another little dashboard. And to some degree, it kind of is. It's more for analysis, and you can slice and dice millions and millions of rows of data, and it's very efficient for that. And the nice thing is that it takes 5 minutes to put one of these together. Basically, you define your measures. So this is from a universe. So this is actually from, let's say, our sales universe, and we chose here current year, year to date, extended amount, prior year, month to date, quarter to date, for gross profit, quantity shipped. So we've got hundreds of calculated objects in the universe. You just pick which ones you want from measures perspective. Measures are kind of like basically amounts and units. And then your different dimensions here, like product family, subfamily, sold to customer. So right now if I'm looking at extended amount, I can see that broken down again by these different dimensions. And if we wanted to go ahead and click and say I want to look at just ink and toner, I can click on that within the product family. It'll create an automatic filter on ink and toner, and now you'll notice the remaining dimensions are showing just ink and toner, how it breaks out across all these other elements here. Okay. So if I want to look at comparing current year, year-to-date versus prior year, year-to-date extended amount, right, I click on both of those, and now we can see those on the chart below. If we wanted to go in and see these, maybe not charted by product family, but I can hit the drop down here and choose maybe by region. Okay, so we can kind of see this by region. What if I wanted to see that not as a bar chart, but maybe as a pie chart? Okay, so that's kind of a quick way to just kind of reanalyze it. If I want to go ahead and drill in, let's say looking at just central region, and now when we look at just central region, let's say we want to look at the breakdown of maybe month, and we can kind of get the and maybe not a pie chart there, but maybe we want to go ahead and look at maybe like a trend chart or something. Okay. So now we can kind of see how we're trending, year over year for the sales for that region. Okay, we want to go ahead and see that maybe down by different sales rep or something like that. We could do that as well. Okay, and if we want to look at each sales rep. So there's just lots of different views, and again, the nice thing is just you set these up. These can also be accessed via mobile device like an iPad, but you're just kind of giving the users the ability to slice and dice by just clicking around. It's creating filters. They can change the charts. They can kind of create their own custom views here if they want. So this is kind of analyzing sales with the Business Objects functionality called Explore. Again, all the things I'm showing you, like we talked about these bundles, they're all just included with these bundles. So it's dependent upon the user, the use case, the scenario. You might have some users that really just look at a CRIS report every month, and you have other users that do more of this ad hoc analysis type. So if I go back here and go to applications, and now we're going to go ahead and build a quick ad hoc report, just like that sales report that we showed you on the mobile device. And again, this is actually connected to a universe. So this is in essence BusinessObjects ad hoc query tool. So I open up Web Intelligence and I choose New, and now I'm going to go ahead and choose a universe. Okay, based on my user, I'm only going to get restricted to the universe that I should have access to. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. This is sales. Like I said, this happens to be running as HANA. So what is HANA? Before I actually dive into this example, let me go ahead and explain that real quick. So what is HANA? A lot of these different companies, they all have their in-memory type computing platforms and databases for taking, and the whole thought here is you can kind of create these in-memory databases that have tons of RAM and tons of power, so you don't have to model as much on the data side of things because you're now putting all that in the hands of the hardware. So this is in essence HANA's in-memory database that you throw the data in it and you model it within HANA, and then you can basically report on that, and it's lightning fast. So that's kind of what HANA is. You can actually we actually have a cloud instance of HANA. You can again license HANA in the cloud. You can also license HANA on premise. But basically, to get started with something like this, you have to acquire the license again on premise or on the cloud. you feed data to HANA. So in this example, we actually took the ETL tool of BusinessObjects Data Services and fed data from, let's say, the source JD Edwards to the target HANA environment, and then we model that data in HANA with different types of attribute views, analytic views, calculation views. Those are kind of canned views that are HANA that are used for the high performance. And in essence, you now have this data in a highly optimized environment that you can then report from. Now, by no means is this for everybody, and I would actually say that for most of our customers, this is a stretch from potentially from a price standpoint, but also we've actually got really good performance for most customers without having to do a lot of this type of in-memory type computing. So what we've done is, again, we fed the data into HANA from JD Edwards, created a bunch of these attribute views and analytic views, and then in essence we created a universe on top of that. Now this is kind of a screenshot of our, like a sample of our sales universe. On the left-hand side here, these are the organization of all the fields that have been defined. That's what users will see, as you'll see here in a minute. On the right-hand side is all the complex stuff that has to go behind the scenes to make that translation intuitive for the users. And then with the HANA, it's basically since you've already modeled and done all that relationship within the HANA side, you now in essence are just referring to, let's say, that view that was created in HANA. And then in our case, we took the same universe and just repointed it and reworked it to connect to HANA. So if that's something of interest, we'd be happy to follow up with you on that. But that's in essence, HANA in a nutshell. And so what we're showing you with this ad hoc example. So if I go back here, so we actually went in here, we selected a universe, and in essence, I'm an end user, an analyst right now, and if I click on different fields and customer, I can go ahead and grab the different piece of information that I want. So maybe I want the customer name, sold to customer name. If I go in down here to say, item information, I want the second item and description. I'll go down to order information. Let's say, we want the last status. Grab anything from here that we want. Let's go down and grab a couple category codes, address book cat codes. Maybe we want, let's say, region, and let's say like division. And you'll notice here, these are all like our out-of-box names are sales cat code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, part of the process would be to, in that semantic layer, to label those as something that is mean to your business. As they're not the same across the board. Some company might have sales cat code 1 is product group, and others might have it called business segment or product line or something else. So we'll go ahead and grab a few other dimensions here, like product group, let's say product subgroup. And so let's say those are what I want to analyze data by. Go down here to amounts and units. We can go ahead and just look at extended amount, gross profit, quantities. We also have some pre-canned time-based calculations as well. So part of our universe, we're calculating today, yesterday, week to date, prior to, week to date, month. So if we want to go here and pull in, let's say, the current year, year to date, extended amount, and the prior year, year to date, extended amount. And I'll go down here to, let's say, gross profit, and we'll do the same, current year, year to date, extended amount. I'm sorry, gross profit, and prior year, year to date, gross profit. We do the same thing with, the quantities, what have you. Down here, we also have some canned filters. Now, the beauty of this is that you define in this query designer what objects you want to analyze the data by, and then you can drag any object from the left or from above down to the query filters, and it'll create a filter for that. And you can make that based on a prompt, or make it based on a list of values that you do on the fly, or just code in a key in a value. You also have some pre-canned filters. In this case, we've got a pre-canned filter for year-to-date last 2 years. So put that in our filter. So once you've identified which objects you want to slice and dice and what filters you have, choose the run query, it's actually going to go out there before. In this case, it can't count. It has to. We've told it for these current year and prior year year-to-date calcs, what's the through date that you want that to calculate. So if we will go in here and change this, maybe I want to run this through December 31st. 2009, let's say. Okay. And we go ahead and move that to the right. Now I'll choose OK. Now it's going out there, grabbing the data, and bringing that back to the canvas. Okay. So you'll notice what it's doing here. It's created a tab. Here's on the left all the objects. You can always go back and edit the query to add more objects or change your filtering or change whatever you want. So it created each of those objects. You notice if I mouse over that, it actually gives me the description. So each field, in essence, has a description of what that field is doing. We got this table. So it creates an aggregated row based on all these dimensions, and it will roll up your extended amount and gross profit based on that. So here's the first tab. If I go ahead and right-click on this and choose, let's say, Add Report, I can start from a whole blank canvas. Okay, so we go, here's a blank tab. Let's say I want to get a breakdown here by, product group, or maybe let's say by region. So if I go ahead and just drag region, okay, so now I can see region, and let's say within region I want to get a breakdown by product. I can go ahead and just drag in to the right of that, bring in product. So it's going to create these different breakdowns. Let's go ahead and pull in like extended amount year to date and prior year, or let's look at gross profit maybe. Okay. So now if we want to kind of get a grouping here, let's take a look at each region and then see the breakdown of products within each region. We can just right click on that product group and we can go ahead and do set as a section. Okay. And now within each of the sections we can go ahead and all right, so we have the what if we want to add a calculator before we do that? Let's go ahead and we want to sort these from high to low based on extended amount. We can just go to analysis and we can go ahead and sort these in descending order. Okay. If we want to insert a sum, we can insert some subtotals here. Okay. If we want to go ahead and add a chart next to this, I can go ahead and just hold Control on my keyboard, move this whole block to the right. Okay. Go ahead and turn this into column chart. Okay. So in essence, you kind of build this tab, and in this case, we're looking at, let's say products within each region. So this will be like products by region. Okay. What if we want customers by region, right? We can go ahead and just take this right here and duplicate this tab. And now, if we want to look at, keeping region as the high level, but we want to see that broken down by, customers. So if I go ahead and just drag customer right into my grid here, right, now I'm going to actually see my breakdown of my customers within each region. Okay. And if we want to go ahead and change our chart as well, if I just click on the chart and right-click and choose Assign Data, I can change that chart to be based on customer as well. Okay. So again, anything it's just dragging and dropping. So you kind of create these different views, different tabs, and user. If I want to look at by division and then region, I can go ahead and just drag in division, my top level, maybe my regions, or maybe let's say, product subgroup or something. So it's just a matter of, it's just drag and drop. It aggregates the data. If you want to create a calculation, say gross profit % as an example, you can kind of create a new variable. And we'll call this, let's say, current year, year-to-date GP %. That's going to be a measure. And here, if I want this to be equal to, and I can say I want my gross profit divided by my extended amount. Okay, I can check that. Formula is correct. Okay, and let's go ahead and give ourselves some space here. We can take that object and drop it again on any of our reports. Now I've just created a GP, gross profit calculation. Want to format that? We can go in and do that as well. Okay, and even at the summary level. Okay, so this is the web intelligence. So when you build these, this is the ad hoc query tool. Again, this can all be done directly at the live JD data. If you want to feed it off to another location, this can be mapped against a mirror of JD data, or if you want to go through the modeling process of data warehouse, we can support that as well. If we go in here And once you build your reports, you just go in here and do a save, and save it back, and you have to define where you want to save that. So if I go in here and put in, say, under distribution, and I'll call this sales ad hoc webinar, right, and do a save. In essence, it just saved that back. So now I built it, I published it back. Now if someone wanted to go ahead and access that, via mobile device, how does that turn into a report that can be analyzed on the mobile? If I go back here and look at our sales ad hoc, should be a sales ad hoc webinar. If we go in here and just do categories, all we need to do is just define that and say, I want that to be available on the mobile device. In essence now, choose OK. I could actually log back into the iPad, and that would be available there for me to analyze, slice and dice. Okay, so again, we start out the dashboards, drill down to the reports. We showed some different ways to slice and dice sales data. Showed you an example of building an ad hoc report with the sales universe. Would have been the same experience had that not been against HANA, by the way. From an end user perspective, we could have done the same thing. It was actually the same universe that, parents of the same universe that's right against our direct JDE as well. So the last thing we're going to show from a demo perspective was the Microsoft Office integration. So I'm going to go ahead and open up let's see. We'll open up an example here. This is a report. You'll notice it's kind of a pivot table. So if we want to go in and slice and dice purchase order, we're actually going to rebuild this on the fly. But in essence, we're going to show you how quickly, if you want to kind of create some models. Now, we don't deliver packaged models already built within Excel. However, you'll see how quickly we can build something like this. And basically what's happening here is this is just a standard Excel pivot table. And you can go ahead and slice and dice the data if I want to look at, break down this by status. But let's say I want to get my supplier at the highest level. Just drag that up in my pivot table. I can see suppliers. So this is just a pivot table. What am I, why are we even focusing on this? Well, if I unhide one of the tabs here, unhide a data tab, this dump of data is all coming from a universe with a live data to JD Edwards. So to refresh this, if I go into Live Office and choose Refresh Objects, one, I have to authenticate. It's going to basically verify that I have rights to this universe. I can go ahead and refresh it. It's going to go out to JD Edwards through the universe, grab the applicable data that I've defined, and bring that back to my spreadsheet. Okay? In essence, that's kind of the key, is a lot of companies take in a manual process, exports from JD Edwards, they'll have some reports run that dump out to either CSV or Excel. Then they go in and have to manually kind of get this. This is now a way to automate that. Let's go ahead and try to create a new one here on the fly. So if I go ahead and create a new blank workbook, and let's take this first tab and just call this data. Okay, and this would be kind of our open purchase orders. Okay, I'm putting on here. Let's say, now you'll notice within the Live Office, this is a plugin. So as part of the BusinessObjects licensing, you have this plugin that will be in, the same thing works in Word, in Excel, and PowerPoint. So if you wanted to, put together your charts in a management presentation, you can kind of set those up once and then have just refresh it by every quarter going in and just hitting refresh. So let's go ahead and in the Live Office, you'll notice you can connect here to a Crystal report or a web intelligence query, or this universe query. We can kind of build one on the fly. Let me go ahead and navigate to an example. Let's say look at a purchasing universe. Here's a purchase order detail. Okay, and go ahead next. So now we can go ahead, just like we did in the sales ad hoc, you'll notice it's very similar. We've got our result objects and our filter objects. And so we can go ahead and just grab the different objects that we may want. And let's say we want, in this case, status code last, and we want supplier, number, name. Let's go down here to our dates. we want our open PO, we want our order date. Within our promised delivery date, we want that. Amounts in units. In this case, let's go ahead and just keep it simple. Open amount. And from our quantities, we'll grab our quantity open. And we have, can filter for open amounts. Okay, now you could drag, if you wanted to filter this, makes sense to only filter on certain line types or certain, product groups or what have you. You can, again, filter anything you want, make it prompt-based. If I go ahead and choose next here, I can give this a name. So you could even have these refreshing against different sources of information from JD Edwards or other non-JD Edwards as well. Again, it's all through different universe. Go ahead and finish. So in essence now I've got this data dump that's in here, and if I wanted to refresh this, I just hit refresh. It'll go out there. Whatever's in JD now, if a new order just got entered in the system, it'll actually now be in this same result as well. Again, it's then we can do, again, just to create the pivot table, as you're probably familiar, if I just hold down Control and Shift, I can go to the right and down, define my table, and just to insert pivot table. Okay, and let's put this on a new worksheet. And we'll call this, analysis. Okay. And now we've got this pivot table, and we can go in and say, I want to look at maybe supplier. Drag supplier to my rows, look at my amount open. Okay. I want to go here and just change the format. Okay. Again, now it's if I want to see, our suppliers, top 10 suppliers, maybe by company or something like that, drag company above supplier. And then if we want to go ahead and look at these, I can right-click on that, filter, top 10. Okay. In essence, giving me my breakdown, my top 10 suppliers within each company. Okay. Add a chart. So this is now something that, again, it's all dynamic. If we wanted to, so it's now just taking pivot table, but then again, I could save this out, build this out, and then open up tomorrow, open up Live Office and hit refresh, and in essence it'll go out there and refresh the data. So given the sake of time, that's pretty much what we were going to show you in today's live session. If we want to take a one-on-one, we'd be happy to do another session dedicated for your organization on any of our products that we support, not just BusinessObjects for that matter. Let's go back, just to kind of put in perspective, if we're looking at our direct, connect where we're taking our templates and samples for Crystal as well as our universes. For the most part, all of that content within 2 or 3 days can be mapped and connected to your data. Some things, again, to take a universe and map it, it can be as quickly as an hour or 30 minutes. We do provide some, view scripts to kind of lay some stuff on the data, and then, it's just a matter of just mapping stuff. It takes us a few days to get those P&Ls and balance sheets mapped as well, and that's kind of part of the process that most companies like. So again, just to install the universe, we're looking at a couple days. The templates and samples, 2 to 3 days for across all modules. And then those management operating statements, again, another couple of days. So really within a week's time, you could have, and it takes a couple of days to get the business objects installed, kind of 1 day and then some configuration of that. So really within a week or two, you kind of have these thousands of hours of development already at your disposal. So that's in a nutshell kind of the implementation.